As for the American campaign to make capitalism an ideology for all nations and people of the globe, it meets no resistance except in the Islamic world. This is because the rest of the nations and the people of the world either already embrace capitalism, as is the case with the United States, Western Europe and their followers such as Canada, Australia and New Zealand, or others like the states of what were once known as the Eastern Bloc, who have renounced socialism and started to mould their lives on the basis of capitalism. Although states like China, North Korea, Vietnam and Cuba are still raising the slogan of socialism, in reality they no longer believe in it and gradually turn to capitalism without any official proclamation. Other nations and peoples of Latin America, the Far East, Southeast Asia and some countries and tribes in Africa who continually did not have any ideology do not perceive capitalism as a doctrinal rival. The Islamic Ummah is the only nation from amongst the non-capitalist nations which has an ideology which she embraces, despite the fact that currently she neither lives according to it nor conveys it to the world. Therefore the American campaign to make capitalism solely dominate the world is not met by real resistance except in the Islamic world. The Islamic Ummah began from the early 1950s to perceive her path for revival on the basis of Islam. It began to make moves to mould her life according to its basis, and look forward to save the world with it, despite the division which the kuffar created in her before and after the destruction of the Khilafah. Despite that her rulers are agents for the kuffar, who maintain the dominance of kufr established by the West in the Muslim lands, these rulers guard the interests of the West, consolidate its influence, and proceed in all their domestic and foreign policies according to the Western directions and orders. Although the revival of the Ummah is not yet complete, and proceeds slowly due to the oppression and persecution against those who work for it by the agent rulers, and because of what the rulers create of an atmosphere of suppression and terrorism, and due to the kufr plans that the agents implement against their own people to make them succumb to the yoke of kufr, yet, despite all this, the Kafir West, led by America, is afraid of the Ummah completing its revival, and the return of the Muslims as one Ummah, distinct from all other peoples, which lives as a single entity, the Khilafah state, a state which will resume the conveyance of her message to the world, to save it from the suffering, disorder and immorality to which it has sunk due to the hegemony of capitalism and its opportunistic and materialistic values, values which have turned the world into a jungle without security or tranquility, and despite all the scientific and technological fruits which humanity has achieved. So the Kafir West still recalls how Islam transformed Arabs from fighting tribes living at the margin of history into a civilized, distinguished Ummah with a civilization that illuminated the world, an Ummah which was able to become the master of the world in a short span of time, and continued to be so for 10 centuries, spreading justice, security, high values and prosperity in every place that the standard of the Khilafah was raised. Therefore the West fears that the Islamic Ummah would make a return again and destroy its influence and interests not over its land but over the whole globe. Upon America and the West realizing this fact, the American campaign is directed primarily against the Islamic Ummah. Although this campaign has other motives, such as the capitalist greed, the ambitious desire of America and the West towards the resources of the Muslim lands, the geographic and strategic advantages of these lands, and the fact that they constitute a huge market for the products of the West and are a source for the raw materials necessary for its industries, as well as its huge oil reserves vital for its life. Notwithstanding all this, the principal motive behind this campaign is the potential threat from the Islamic Ummah against the interests of the West and its influence, as well as upon its very existence, once the Islamic Ummah wakes up, revives, and carries her message to the world.